We are going to turn to CBDCs for a moment. India is going to start a retail CBDC pilot, which Amitoj, our host here, has actually reported on. So Amitoj, can you just explain what's going on here?
Yeah, very quickly. We knew about the CBDC pilot, the retail CBDC pilot, which is basically for really anyone who buys stuff in the grocery store. We knew that this was coming on December 1st. What we know now is that there are going to be 4 banks, 4 local Indian banks that are going to partner with the Central Bank of India, the Reserve Bank of India, and there are going to be 4 cities where this is kickstarted. And then another 4 cities, in fact, 9 cities will join in, another 4 banks, and potentially even more banks will come together. And essentially what they're trying to work out is what are the issues that might crop up. They're trying to stress test it. And I think at a later stage, they're going to compare it to what has been very successful, India's UPI, which is a payment mechanism system, which became really, really successful in part thanks to the pandemic. And people have asked, how would the CBDC retail really help when you already have perhaps the world's most successful payment system for the world's largest population almost? So what would happen? And we've learned from people within the RBI, and they've said this to CoinDesk, that the goal is to complement it. And that's going to be interesting to see how the CBDC retail pilot complements this mechanism that's already there. The QR code, you can just get your phone, put the QR code at a merchant, and then buy bread or whatever else that you want. Simultaneously, we can also say that the CBDC wholesale kicked off, the pilot that is kicked off November 1st. So a lot happening at the Reserve Bank of India. We can expect several other details, including the fact that on December 1st, coinciding with this retail pilot, is India taking on the presidency of the G20. Which would basically mean that, and they've already said that crypto regulation, coordinated global crypto regulation framework is something that they will prioritize. So it's a fascinating time to just watch what India is going to do and say.
So Amitoj, you talk about this being it's a retail pilot. So how do we know how it'll be allocated? How people can get in on it? What kind of the sizes that we're talking here? Are these large transactions, small transactions? The infrastructure, like how is this even? Do we even know much of the details about how it's going to be set up?
Yeah, we don't know specific things, but we do know broad things. Like a QR code is definitely going to be used. We know that the payments, the process of it, whoever is part of this group, whether it be retailers or banks, and part of the pilot, they'll be given QR codes and they'll be able to use them to kind of test out the process. But it's still not clear, for example, whether this CBDC retail will have anything different from what Indians are familiar with. For example, cash denominations in India, you got basically notes. The cash notes are, you got a 2,000 rupee note, you got a 500 rupee note. Those are the big ones. Those will remain in the CBDC retail pilot in just the same way. And just the same way that in cash you cannot get interest when you have it, with CBDC retail, if you have CBDC retail, you will not get interest. So a lot of these contours, these nuances are still not clear.
And how ubiquitous is electronic payments in India versus cash payments? Is it how far along in the process is it, and is it broken up regionally, or is just everybody at this point paying electronically?
We don't know the answer to that completely. That's a good question. We do know that it's not going to be regional. It's actually going to be metro cities. So you go towards the big cities first. You go towards Mumbai, Bangalore, Ahmedabad coming in next. So you're going to go to the major hubs. The major banks that they're using are both state banks in a sense and private banks, so government banks and private banks, and you can expect that this is going to be very dynamic. The CBDC runs a very tight ship. I beg your pardon. The RBI runs a very tight ship, and therefore information coming out from there, is always very tricky. And when they release the information, they don't really tell you everything. And And to be fair, they have told at least one journalist, I can confirm, that this is something that they are still working out. It's very early stage. The pilot is literally starting in 2 days. So they're open to all options. They've got invitations from the entire industry. Anyone with the India Connect saying, we want to work with you. So it's really going to go through many checks and balances.